No, we're just in a hard diet phase.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get me probably to about like 6 to 8 weeks out, and then we'll kind of see like, do we want to go through with the prep? Do we want to just rebound out of it? I've got vacation coming up in a few weeks, so that'll be a good little diet break for a long weekend. So yeah,
I
That's exciting.
You look more dieted down even here from the last time I spoke with you.
that's what everyone says too. I usually tend to lose it in my face pretty quickly. I lose it in my face and I gain it in my face
The
real
most.
quick. Yeah,
It's a
It's
pros and cons.
well, like
exactly.
me and Nikki are the same where like we lose our lower half last, but that's also where we're
Mm,
first.
yeah.
Okay. But thank you for coming on today.
Thank you guys for having me.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mind X Muscle podcast. It's Nikki here.
And Eleanor.
And today we're joined by Gabe Roccha. He's a sport and performance psychologist. Coach working specifically in the bodybuilding space. Gabe works with both amateur and professional bodybuilders, helping athletes optimize not just how they train, but also how they think, perform, and show up under pressure.
Gabe is the owner and I guess CEO of Elite Mental Performance Consulting. He supports competitors across all phases of sports, including overcoming performance anxiety, perfectionism tendencies in bodybuilding, understanding how you can build mental resilience, confidence under fatigue, emotional regulation, and identity, but beyond how you actually look. His whole idea is he doesn't just teach positive mindset, he works at the in between of performance habits and real world bodybuilding demands with personal experience of being a competitor yourself. But if Gabe starts sweating mid episode, it's not the questions, it's the Melinda's hot sauce.
I'm a huge fan of Melinda's. They did send me a little gift box not too long ago, and I mean, I put Melinda's on dang near every meal, so huge Melinda's fan. Melinda, sponsor me, please.
I thought they did.
What was that?
I thought they already did.
They gave me like a little discount code on just the black truffle hot sauce, but I
Well,
want
that's a
like the
step.
full.
I feel like I
It's
want
a start, right? It's a start.
That one's my favorite though, the truffle sauce. I love that on eggs and chicken.
It's a game changer. I buy the if you go straight to their website, you can get the half-gallon bottles. So I typically I'll get two of the half-gallon bottles because then you get free shipping too. I just keep those in the pantry and then I just refill my own bottles.
That's good to know because I go through them so quick. Love it. Also, Gabe, where
Yeah.
are you located?
I am down in San Antonio, Texas currently. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, started bodybuilding at Gold's Gym Venice, and then just kind of moved around for work. I'm a military contractor, been doing cognitive performance training with U.S. Army soldiers and then U.S. Air Force fighter pilots and instructor pilots for the last 4 years now. So moved to Louisiana, then Mississippi, and now settled in San Antonio for a couple years.
Wow, I'm very surprised it pick up on their heavy accent down there.
Yeah.
So you're not dealing with all the snow like we are over here.
No, thank goodness. Honestly, being born and raised in Los Angeles, I grew up like 5, 10 minutes from the beach, so I'm not a snow person by any means. I actually told my girlfriend she's from Rochester, New York. I was like, wherever we move to next, like I just don't want to shovel snow every morning. So
Yeah,
wherever we go
it has
next.
not stopped here, like whatsoever.
Yeah.
no. And we live in a part of Canada where we live in Barrie. It's like very north end of the greater Toronto area, I guess.
Mhm.
And this year it's been the worst it's ever been.
Really?
Yes.
Dang.
Yes. I hate it.
Dress warm.
Yeah,
did
my
Gotta dress
driveway
warm.
looks like an igloo.
But I kind of want to know because you started competing how long ago?
I did my first show back in 2019, and then took a few years off. COVID happened. 2021, I tore my labrum in my left shoulder, so that made me take some time off. And then once I got through the rehab of that, that's when I hired my coach, Justin Shire, in February of 22. So actually coming up on 4 years with him next month. And then we did our first show together in November of 2024. So we took about 2.5 years to just, make my body look like I'm actually a bodybuilder. And then did my first show up here at Texas State in November of 24. Hoping to get on stage again this year.
What made you choose Justin as your coach?
Honestly, I would hear him all the time on Fuad's podcast back when he had first gotten signed by Hostile. So he'd gotten signed by Hostile like middle of 2021, if my memory serves correct. And then I saw him go and win the Nationals, his pro card at in 2021. And just hearing him speak on bodybuilding, I was like, this guy clearly knows what he's talking about. He lives the lifestyle himself. He's an up and comer. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I want a coach who knows what he's doing, who lives the lifestyle, competes at a high level. And so I reached out to him and I was like, hey, man, would you mind, or do you have any coaching spots available? If so, like, I would love to be one of your clients. And just kind of hearing him talk about his approach and the way that he lives the bodybuilding lifestyle, I knew that we would be a good match. And, 4 years later, here we are.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
That
And yeah, I 4 years is a really long time with someone.
hmm
Yeah.
I feel like I hear a lot of people almost like coach hopping every 1 to 2 years. And it's almost like a badge of honor if you've been with a coach for anything more than like 3 to 5 years. At that point, it's just like, oh, you guys have been together for a long time.
Well,
that's
it's
so true. And it takes time for both of you, like as the coach and the athlete, to know your body and to grow together too, right? It's always a trial and error. Sometimes you'll get it, sometimes you don't. It takes a long time, but it's good. I love the loyalty behind that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So more about your background. So what originally drew you into mental performance coaching? Like, how did that start?
Yeah, so it really took hold of me back in high school. So my junior year of high school, I was playing football, ended up getting injured my junior year during our playoff game. Ended up having to go through a whole rehab process for my ankle. And during that rehab process, I actually picked up a book by Tim Grover called Relentless. And for people who know Tim Grover, he was Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan's sports psychologist. And by that point, I knew I wanted to go into psychology, but at that specific time, I was thinking more of like the marriage and family therapy route or some sort of clinical psychology. But I picked up that book, and having this passion for sports, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. And so I read his book Relentless, and that was a complete game changer for me. And I was like, this is what I want to devote my life to. And so going into my senior year, I noticed the mental shift that I had made between my junior year of football and my senior year of football, and just, really being addicted to the process and falling in love with the game. And I was like, if I can make this shift, I know other people can make this shift as well. And so I want to learn how to not only do it for myself, but teach others how to do it as well. So then I ended up going to school, getting my undergrad in psychology, and then getting my master's in sports psychology.
nice. Wow.
It's awesome. I like that story about how you experienced it all yourself too, because obviously you went through those mental challenges yourself. And then reading that book probably helped you a lot. And you're like, that was almost an inspiration for you to be like, I want to do this and help people
Mhm.
also get through this.
Yeah, because I didn't really see myself as anything special, but I knew that experience taught me that I could learn how to work really hard and really devote myself to a process. And I was like, if I can do this for myself, then I know other people can do it as well. So I was like, I need to figure out the ins and outs so that way I can teach other people how to really enjoy the process and develop the mental skills necessary to really perform at a high level.
So how did you kind of start putting that into bodybuilding? Because like I know for myself, that's kind of where I want to go, but I'm more so in Canada. You've like really started to push it in the States.
Honestly, it was learning the skills and applying them to football, and then learning how to then kind of transfer those over into weightlifting. So obviously with football, you're doing a lot of weight training. And so I actually fell in love with the weight training process first, especially like, just being in the gym, bunch of dudes, we're all squatting, bench pressing, deadlifting, just doing meathead football player type stuff. And then just really fell in love with the actual training part. And so once I fell in love with the training part, I remember my senior year, I played offensive line. So I was about 230 pounds my senior year. And we were going on a senior graduation trip to the Bahamas. And I wanted to lose a bunch of weight to go on this trip because I was like, I'm 5'10", 230 pounds. I was like, I need to lose some body fat. And so that's when I started looking into bodybuilding and seeing like, oh, you can change the way that your body looks. Because I was a pretty hefty, chubby kind of kid growing up. And then so learning how bodybuilding could actually help me change my body was the first step, and then just gradually falling in love with the process. I'd picked a few people that I saw as like my idols, and I was like, okay, what do these people embody? right? What are some of the traits that allowed them to be successful? Identify those and then start aligning yourself with those traits, with those behaviors. I had never like meal prepped food before I had gotten into bodybuilding. So it was like, okay, what do bodybuilders do? And then it was, okay, developing a system that's going to help you stay on track with food, developing a system that's going to allow you to exercise at a high level consistently, and then just kind of tie it all together.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that important, even if someone isn't wanting to be a bodybuilder per se, to step on stage, like almost learning traits or habits that bodybuilders do to get where you want to be is so important. And then once you're in that, and for so long, I find that's what happened to me. I did that for a little bit, and I'm like, I want to do this to the next level and actually go on stage. So
Yeah, and that's the thing. When I found bodybuilding, I didn't really have any inclination to want to get on stage because I found bodybuilding in like 2013. I didn't
yeah,
step on stage until 2019. It was more just like, oh, I like the lifestyle, I like to train, and I want to be able to be in control of how my body looks. And then as time in the sport goes on, I was like, oh, you know what? Like maybe I should step on stage. This seems like it could be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, especially I like how you said you wanted to build those habits first. I
Mm.
find that a lot of people just want to step on stage just for the heck of it, but like 7 years not stepping on stage and doing the same thing every single day, that repetitiveness clearly got you somewhere.
yeah.
Got us somewhere, right? Now here we are 12 years later.
You built a
Wow.
good foundation though, and you learned a lot.
Exactly, which I think is really valuable too. And honestly, that's that's one of the things I think leads to the most success for a lot of people today, especially if you're finding bodybuilding young, like in your late teens, just really setting up the foundation and spending years building up those habits and really figuring out like what do I want to get out of this pursuit? Like, do you just want the muscle and the external validation that comes with, being lean and being muscular, or are you really in it to see how you can push yourself, push your limits, see what kind of growth you can make, not just as an athlete, but also as a person? Because I do think a lot of the habits and the skills we develop as bodybuilders transfer over into other areas of life in terms of the discipline, being able to just really hone in on one specific thing for a really long period of time.
100%.
Time management too.
Time management. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And I think another one that a lot of people don't really learn until later on is just learning how to say no to things that don't serve your goal, right? Because I remember when I first started bodybuilding, it was like, yeah, my friends want to go to Chipotle. It's like, yeah, we're going to go to Chipotle after every leg day, or we're going to go to In-N-Out after every leg day. In the moment, it's like, yeah, I'm just hanging out with my friends. We're having a good time. But if that doesn't serve the greater goal, then it's either learning how to say no or learning how to say, hey, I'll go with you, but I brought my meal with me. Right.
Yeah.
Hearing any backlash or comments about it once you do, because that
Exactly.
could steer you even further away too.
Exactly.
And I think also, sorry,
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, even explaining yourself to people, like telling someone, "Hey, like, the reason why I wanna be able to bring my own meals is because I'm staying on my plan, but I
Mhm.
still want to be social with you. Like, this isn't me trying to burn my bridge with you," which I find that, like, people get offended. Like, "I'll come
Mhm.
with you, but I'm gonna bring my own meal. I'm not judging you. Go eat your food. Like, I don't care, but don't make a comment about my food."
Yeah, it goes both ways.
Yeah. It really does.
And that's the thing too, is like I don't think a lot of people see it as they're necessarily being judged by the person who is bringing their meal. I think a lot of times it's they feel uncomfortable because that person is living in alignment with what their goals are. And if the person who is eating out, go getting a cheeseburger, getting Chipotle after a workout or whatever it might be, if they're not living in alignment with what they say their goals are, that almost just holds up a mirror to them and makes them reflect in that moment. Well, why is this person able to stay on track with their goals and why am I not? And I think that's where they start to get a little bit offended, is because they have that moment of, shoot, maybe I should be making these choices as well. And so one thing that I've done, especially with some of my athletes, I've got a sports site client who she's in nursing. And a lot of times, like she brings all her meals with her to work every day. And some of the other nurses will be like, oh, like, why are you eating that? Like, have some sweets. And it would really frazzle her a bit. And I had to talk with her and be like, hey, this is a really good opportunity for you to share what your goals are with someone else, and almost explain it to them in a way that hopefully it draws out their curiosity rather than becoming a conversation where you feel judged for bringing your meals. So when someone says like, oh, like, why can't you eat the sweets? Then you get an opportunity to say, oh, well, like I'm pursuing this bodybuilding thing means that I need to stick with my goals, stay on my meal plan. And here's why I'm doing it long term. Like here are the benefits that I get out of it. So it actually gives you an opportunity to help them learn about what bodybuilding is, why you're pursuing it, etc.
Exactly. People just don't know, right? So that's what we have to do.
Exactly.
So you work with mainly bodybuilders, you said?
Yeah, mainly bodybuilders right now on the private side. I'm open to any types of athletes. I've been in the field of sports psychology since 2019 now. So I've worked with Division 1 athletes across tons of different sports, whether it's dance, water polo, cheer, etc. But in the past 8 or so months now, since I started up my actual private business, it's mostly just been bodybuilders. Not for any reason that I don't want to work with other athletes, but I feel like that's just kind of my niche right now. And I
Yeah.
don't feel like bodybuilders really have too many resources for sports psychology. So I feel like there's a big gap in the market.
I was just going to say that too, because I'm an RMT and movement therapist. I work at a physio clinic, a multidisciplinary physiotherapy clinic.
Nice.
And we're mainly sports specific. Like we see a bit of everyone and everything, but we do see a lot of athletes that come in. And I find the same thing, like with the clients dealing with so many injuries, the mental side of it is really hard. And then a lot of us kind of turn into the practitioner to also therapist side of the therapy, you know? So, and like you said, there's not a lot of resources, like even in Canada for sports psychology specific, you know, like so many, there's tons of psychologists out there and, you know, people who are therapists, but not, you know, it's more broad. It's not really specific to sports and like the mental resilience when it comes behind that.
I'm working on
So
it.
yes.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I love that you want to specialize in that because you've been through so much too, and you have so much, you know, inspiration to share with people and to help with. And I'm really excited for you too.
Thank you.
Thank
But
you.
I think the big thing is you can find there's so many RMTs nowadays, but how many RMTs can say, hey, I understand why your joints are so stiff. I understand that you're training until failure and what that actually means and what that entails for your body to go through. So I think like you being a sports psychologist and also being a bodybuilder, you can help other people that have experienced probably like everything that you have. They just don't know how to behave. Same thing for you, Nikki, and same thing for me, right? Like I have a niche, you have a niche, and you have a niche, but it's so hard nowadays. Oh my God, stop it. It's so hard nowadays because some people just don't know where to go.
Yeah. And honestly, someone like in the physical therapy realm, I think you guys don't get enough credit for what you guys actually do. Right. Because, like you said, not only are you a practitioner for movement therapy, but a lot of times you're actually the therapist for the athlete. And that's something that if you're not, trained in or well equipped to handle, like that can put a lot of stress and overwhelm you guys as those movement therapists. And so I've actually had this conversation with a lot of my clients who they actually have a therapist that they see, but that's more for like general life things. Right. And so a lot of the times I say, like, they come to me, they hire me, and they say, well, I also have a therapist, but they don't understand the bodybuilding side of things. So my therapist will say, well, just eat until you're full or just do what feels good for your body.
Oh my
But at the
God.
end of the day, we're engaging in a sport that's so extreme that, there are going to be phases where we're heavily restricted on the diet or we're really pushing the food and getting very uncomfortable to really stimulate that muscle growth. And so for a lot of therapists with just a general clinical background, I don't think they have the perspective, at least, to really help athletes who are in the throes of that athletic journey, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's, football, soccer, baseball, etc., because they're looking at it from like a general life standpoint, not from this elite performance standpoint.
That's so true what you said. Another thing that I see from a lot of my clients too is their doctors tell them, oh, just stop exercising completely. Like just rest, rest,
Mhm.
rest. And I'm like, that to
My
an
blood
extent,
pressure right now.
Yeah.
to an extent, it's like we just have to change this program a little bit. We got to just change what we're doing, change the protocols a little bit because you still need to move. You still need to, if you have a tear in your shoulder, you can't just rest it and wait for surgery or take a painkiller. There's other things we can do. We can start introducing strengthening, some stabilizing stuff, some isometrics, whatever that looks like to help you. And then it's a lot for the client or the athlete just to completely stop and do nothing when they're used to training every day and doing all these things. They just feel like they're getting, back to square one and they're losing all their progress. So when it comes to the people that you work with, do you find that mainly recovering from an injury? Like, do you see that a lot too? Like,
So I've worked with athletes who are struggling with an injury. So
yeah.
that's a very common theme for me. I wouldn't say that most of my athletes are coming to me with an injury that they're trying to rehabilitate from. It's more so, hey, we've been working together. Also, I have this injury that I'm working through, right?
Okay.
But
So it's
that
like
definitely is,
something added on.
yeah, absolutely. And it's something where it's either they have like a history of injuries or they're dealing with an injury in real time. And a lot of the times it's, hey, what's the mental approach to the rehab process, right? Because a lot of times we as athletes, we integrate that athletic pursuit into our identity. And so when you can't do the thing that your identity is most closely aligned with, that really stings. Right. And then you almost start to get into this thought process of, well, who am I if I'm not this athlete that I say that I am? Right. Because if I identify as a bodybuilder first, but I'm not doing the things that are conducive with what a bodybuilder is, such as training, not following a diet, not able to do cardio, whatever that might be, well, then you start to have this misalignment between who I am and what I do. And that causes a lot of stress and it makes them kind of really sit with the fact that, hey, my body is a lot more fragile than I think it is. It is very resilient, but in other ways it's very fragile. And so being able to walk them through, okay, you're just in a different season right now. Like you are still the bodybuilder, but guess what? You are also a lot of other things. So for you two here on this call, it's like you guys are daughters. If you have siblings, you're a sister to someone, you're a friend to people, maybe you're an aunt to other people. And so understanding the different types of roles that you play and how those integrate into your total identity and not just viewing yourself as that bodybuilder first and only can really help to get through that process of rehab. Where right now, if I can't focus on doing the things that a bodybuilder does, well, what are the other things that are good in life that I can do that are still going to bring me a lot of purpose and fulfillment?
Yeah.
You mentioned something that doesn't really, it's also with injuries, with the whole like going from off season to prep to post show. I can just speak from like my personal experience and just having conversations with other people is that idea of like when your coach says you can't do cardio anymore, when your coach says like your training volume has to be like stopped, that kind of, now you're like, okay, if I tell the world that I'm not doing cardio, if I'm eating this much food, am I really a bodybuilder?
Mhm.
Oh, I can't do fasted cardio anymore. Does that make me like less of an athlete? So you mentioned that, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that because you work a lot with women, right? Do you find that it's more common, like the stress and anxiety of bodybuilding in itself is
Undaunted Attire is a one-of-a-kind athletic wear made for comfort, movement, and confidence. Gear that stays secure, feels good, and lets you focus on your training, not your clothing.
Designed for the people who show up, stay consistent, and keep moving forward. Undaunted Attire for the fearless. Use code Nikki or Eleanor at checkout.
more common in women?
I don't find that it's more common. I do find that women are more likely to reach out and seek resources. And I think that might just be like, they view like psychological resources as some sort of weakness. I don't think that in society today, we've kind of broken that stigma fully yet. But the example that you gave specifically where, you're getting towards the end of a prep and like you're 2 weeks out, you're ahead of schedule. All of a sudden coach says, oh, hey, guess what? We're going to bump up your food and we're going to lower your cardio just to kind of keep things going where we're at. I've actually worked with athletes who are in that specific state. And a lot of times the conversation really comes down to reframing. Well, what does that actually mean? Because a lot of times they have an identity crisis where it says, well, I'm a bodybuilder. Bodybuilders at 2 weeks out, they're supposed to be doing the most amount of cardio and they're supposed to be starving. But my coach is saying otherwise, like I'm not going to be ready. And so now we have to have that mental shift to, well, coach is giving you the extra food and taking away the cardio because you're already ahead of schedule. So it's a privilege that you get to pull back a little bit. And just because the work looks different now doesn't mean that the work is less effective. And that's the thing that a lot of people really hone in on, is that if I'm not working as hard as other people, they are somehow better bodybuilders. But in reality, you're getting judged on the look that you present on stage on that specific day at that specific time. And so if continuing to dig down on low calories and high cardio at 2 weeks out when you're already ahead of schedule is going to lead to a worse look, then we need to change what we're doing. Right. And so one thing I tell a lot of my athletes too is you don't get any points on stage from the judges for having worked harder than everyone else. You only get points on how you look on that specific day. And if the work leading up to the show dictates that your body needs a bit more rest and a bit more food, then that's going to lead to the best possible outcome. And so it's being able to reframe that the work itself doesn't dictate your value, but the look is what you're aiming for.
That is so true. And overexerting and overtraining when you're already at that point and your body's already at that level, that could be more detrimental. The stress on the body can go up. You know, you're starting to hold water, inflammation. But it's just getting over that mental side. Like, I need to do more. I got to be better, better, better. Cause that's the mindset through the whole thing, right? I'm not good. This isn't good enough. I'm not good enough. Like, even looking back to, you know, some prep files or show day, like you never, when the prep goggles are on, you never think it's good enough. So you want to keep overexerting when you don't really have to.
Yeah. And I think that people fall into the trap because, you know, if we're doing a 16-week prep and the first 14 weeks are, you know, we're exerting ourselves to the absolute maximum for these first 14 weeks. And then you get to 2 weeks out and all of a sudden coach says, hey, you don't need to train as hard anymore. You don't need to do as much cardio. We're going to give you a little bit more food. Well, a lot of athletes are going to be like, well, that's not what got me to this point. And so now the things that you're asking me to do are not congruent with the things that got me to this point. And so that's where the panic starts to set in, and they think to themselves, they're just like, oh no, I need to work harder because other people are working harder. But in reality, it's no, you worked hard enough for the first 14 weeks that you now have the privilege to then take your foot off the gas a little bit so that way we can land this plane and present your best possible look. Because like I said, at the end of the day, the judges don't reward you because you worked harder than anyone else.
It's a privilege to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If I heard that 2 weeks out, I'd be like, yes, I did it. I'm there. We're here.
But a lot of people don't. They
No,
get to
that's it.
2
And I
weeks
feel like
out
there's
and they're
no
just like,
middle ground.
I'm not there yet. I can't take my foot off the gas.
Yeah,
But
I
in
feel like
reality,
it goes both ways. Like, there's nothing really in the middle. It's either, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. I got to do more. Or it's like, yes, we did it. We're there. There's no middle ground for that.
There's no middle ground. And you know, when your coach tells you like, hey, like high day and no cardio,
Yep.
you're like, wait a second, me? No way.
I have so much time in my day now.
Yeah. You start having those thoughts like, I don't deserve this. Like I haven't earned this. The other athletes, they're not getting this. They're working harder than me. They're going to beat me because they're working harder than me.
But you see that idea that you just mentioned, the I have to earn this. But when you're in prep, you never feel like you're going to earn anything. Like you never feel like you're ready. You never feel like you're lean enough or good enough or full enough. So you keep chasing like that desire to be the leanest that you can be. So then when you get that reward, you're like, yes, I actually earned this, but you'll never feel like you earned it.
And that's the value in having a good coach that you trust, because when you're in prep, you're never going to feel that, well, I earned this cheat meal, right? Especially if you're highly competitive. And so you have to have a coach that when they do say, hey, we're backing off the cardio, we're going to give you a high day. You need to be able to completely relinquish that control that you want to have and say, yes, I'm going to follow the plan. I trust your eye because I know I have the prep goggles on right now. And so no matter how good your picture is going to look, because we all know 2 weeks after the show or a month later after the show, you look back on those pictures and you're just like, dang, I looked freaky. But you don't see that in real time. And so that's the value of having a good coach, that when you fully trust them and they say, you're getting a high day, you're not doing cardio, go lay on the couch or take a couple of naps today, you need to be able to say, you're right. I trust you. Let me know what we're doing tomorrow.
I'll give you an example. Like when I say prep goggles, this year I kept looking at my photos from nationals and they told me I was too hard. And 2 weeks after the show, I looked at it and I was like, I was not too hard. Like I still have body fat on me. I just looked at it now, 12 weeks post show. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like you have veins in your hamstrings. Like that's messed up. That's not good. What would you suggest somebody do in a case like that?
Give me a little bit more context.
The whole prep goggles idea, right, is you never feel like you're good enough. And you say, like, you just got to trust your coach. But a lot of us are very control freaks. So it's hard for us to let go of that, right? Like, yes, everyone has a coach here, but there are times where we're like, does he know what he's doing? Does she know what she's doing? So maybe you could give some of like the work that you do.
Mhm.
How do you communicate with your coach in those scenarios where you are feeling stressed or overwhelmed or not good enough, feeling like you need to earn
Mhm.
thing?
So first things first, I think in the world of sport and performance psychology, first and foremost, it starts with self-awareness, right? So self-awareness is kind of just the foundational building block through which all the skills and tools can develop. So you need to be able to have a conversation with yourself when those prep goggles are on and be able to identify, am I looking at things objectively right now? Right. And a lot of times when we're looking at ourselves, whether it's through a picture or through the mirror or in the gym with a pump, a lot of times that vision is going to be skewed, right? We have some sort of a lens through which we view ourselves. And so first and foremost, when you have those thoughts of, oh, I'm not lean enough, oh, I haven't earned this yet, being able to have the conversation, is this actually a true statement? And so one of the exercises I'll have a lot of my athletes engage in is it's kind of like an analogy where I'll have them envision themselves as though they're in a courtroom and they are the judge in the courtroom. And so on one side, you have the plaintiff, which is like the little devil in your ear telling you like, you're not good enough. You're not lean enough. You don't deserve this high day. And then on the other side of the courtroom, you have the defendant, which is like the little angel in your ear saying like, yes, you need to listen to your coach. Your coach is correct. I'm not viewing things through an objective lens right now. And so you want to almost envision yourself as the judge. You listen to both sides. You try to have that conversation of, okay, what is this little voice telling me? What is this little voice telling me? And then you get to decide which one am I going to listen to. But that starts with the self-awareness piece to know, is is the story that I'm telling myself actually accurate right now? And then what I almost like them to write down like what those thoughts look like and almost like a pros and cons list where it's like, okay, these are the thoughts I'm having on the negative side. Here are the thoughts that I'm having on the positive side. Which of these are more accurate? Right. And then at that point, if you have someone you trust, that's when you can bring other people in. So like my old training partner, Kyrie Cooper, he's a classic physique pro. If I'm having a day where I'm really struggling with like my body image, I might send him my pictures and be like, hey, what do you think? Right? What do you see? Because here's what I see. And he's more likely to be able to give me an objective point of feedback. Or if I'm checking in with my coach, he might be able to give me a more objective point of feedback. And then being able to go through that process and create that objectivity either for yourself or with other people that you do trust.
I love that. I love that because now that you say that, I would be so nervous to message my coach about this kind of stuff. And I know a lot of people would too. So we have a little group chat, and I know that all of the girls are very objective because all of us compete and all of us can say like, hey, actually, no, you look like shit or
Mhm.
you look good. So in that sense, I feel like that helps a lot. Just being able
How
to relate to somebody that's not your coach.
How many of those people are you confident are going to give you objective feedback though? Because that's another thing too. It's like if you're in a group chat with a bunch of people like on a team, a lot of those people are going to feel the pressure to like just hype you up. Like no one wants to be the person that's just like, oh no, like you look like shit. Like, are you even dieting right now? But if that's the case, objectively, it's like that's where I think having a couple of people in your corner and telling them like, hey, I need your objective feedback right now. Like, don't spare my feelings. Like, I just need you to tell me like, what do you see? Because here's what I'm seeing right now, and here's what I'm feeling.
You need honesty.
Yeah. And going back to what you said before, I know a lot of really good coaches that they're good with, the meals or the training. And then a lot of coaches also have coaches for the training or the
Mhm.
posing. But I feel like we don't really see getting like having it known to have a coach for, say, the mental side of things too. So and a lot of the times most coaches can't or not able to or don't even have the time to also provide that for all of their clients. They might be able to in a little form, and has to be communicated by the client if that's something extra that they need from them. But half the time they're not going to give you 100% of that. That's not the main reason why they're coaching you. So
Mhm.
I find, like we said in the beginning, how we need to make it more known in society to make the sports psychology side of things more known and more common. So it can be something that athletes can really focus on and invest in during their whole competitive journey.
I also see the work that I do. I completely understand the fact that I am a luxury for most people because at the end of the day, it's like if I'm bodybuilding, the main things that I need to spend my money on are gym membership, a coach who's going to do all the X's and O's, my supplements, my food, any other PEDs, whatever that might be. Like those are the first things that are going to be prioritized. Then, if you have money left over, that's where you hire the posing coach. That's where you hire the sports psychology coach. That's where you hire, the massage therapist. But at the end of the day, a lot of those are luxury items that if someone is tight on money, those are the first things that are going to go, that they're not going to prioritize those things because the food, the coaching, the gym membership, all those things take precedence.
Yeah, it's already so expensive. Like the sport is very, very pricey, like you
Mhm.
said. And for those that don't even have the health benefits to help cover some of the rehab side of stuff or even the psychology stuff, it can add up. But if that's something that the person really needs and can benefit from to help them succeed, because it could be detrimental in the end too, like no, like depending on how difficult it may be, it's huge to invest in. I think it's something that should be more known, in my opinion.
Right.
Or even like, I know my goal with it is to make it easily accessible and financially affordable. That's my goal. Do I have ideas? Yeah, but like, how am I going to do that in Canada, America, North
Mhm.
America? Right? So, what can you do? I know Gabe and I have already kind of talked about this and we're working on it. But if someone reaches out to you, they're like, "Hey, I need your help. This is kind of what's going on." How do you break it down to them without basically saying like, "I can't help you because this is my price." And if they can't do it, right?
Right. And that's the thing too, is like I completely understand that the services I provide, like they're not cheap by any means, but I'm priced that way because the standard I keep is very high and I don't want to stretch myself so thin that I have so many athletes that I'm not able to provide the quality of the service that I know I can provide. But yeah, I've definitely run into people where they come seek my services and they say, "Hey, like this is something I definitely want to move forward with. What are your rates?" And then I tell them my rates and they're just like, "Oh, I can't afford that." And at that point, I'm just like, "Okay, cool. Well, I know there are some other people in the field. I do have a couple of colleagues that I could pass them off to." I also think that being able to look at other resources, whether it's different types of books, different types of podcasts that do really hone in on the sports psych side of things. I mean, there are several Instagram pages that I follow as a sports psych practitioner that the people who put out that content, like I've learned a ton from. And so I try to point them in that direction. But at the end of the day, like it is a business that I'm trying to run as well. So being able to have that conversation, like, hey, maybe we're not the right fit, but here's some resources that I can point you in the direction of that I think can be beneficial for what you are experiencing.
Yeah, and just having them know like it might not be so personalized or specific to what they need and to grow with as time goes on, but here's like a podcast or a book, something to gain some sort of insight somewhere else. So that's good.
Exactly. And it sucks because being the practitioner myself, like I am a very limited resource in terms of my time, right? Because it's like I am the product and the service. And so there are only so many hours in a day, so many hours in a week. Like I work a full-time job as a military contractor for the Air Force. And then I have my own bodybuilding. And so they usually only leaves me with about 3 to 4 hours a day to work with any clients. Weekends, I have a lot more flexibility, but like during the week, like my schedule is pretty tight. And so I would like to reach more people, kind of the way that Eleanor is doing with like the prep journal. I work best in a one-on-one setting, and I think that people come to me for the service that I can provide and that's much more individualized. So it's like I like being part of something that can reach a lot more people, but the work that I truly love is having these types of one-on-one conversations where we talk through the different strategies and tools. You go out and implement them, and then you check in with me 1 or 2 weeks later and see how things are going and what changes we need to make.
Just from there.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm gonna redirect the conversation because
Let's do it.
I have some stuff I want to talk to you about.
Let's do it.
Okay, so thoughts about training until failure.
I personally can't see myself training other way.
But
So
training to failure mean to you? And do you think it means the same thing to you than it does to every other athlete?
I don't think it means the same to every other athlete. And I think that training to failure truly is a skill that you have to learn. And so I remember, I'll give you my example. Coming up, I went to Gold's Gym in Venice Beach when I first started bodybuilding. So I was in the hub of bodybuilding in 2015. I was there. I saw Dexter Jackson, Sean Roden. Like, I would see some of the best bodybuilders in the world on
That's
a
such
daily
a flex.
basis. Yeah. Um, which again, it's just very like, I got lucky in the fact that like I just happened to live near Gold's Gym in Venice Beach. And so I was like, hey, you know what? I want to bodybuild. So I'm going to go put myself in a bodybuilding environment. And so I remember I walked in that gym and I was like, oh yeah, I know how to train hard. And then you walk in there and you see people actually training hard. And then you start training with these people that actually train hard. And you're just like, oh, this is what training hard truly is. And so when I did my first show in 2019, I hired a coach. His name was Doug Frushi. Unfortunately, he's passed on. But I remember when I hired him, he was like, all right, cool. We start prep on Monday. And I just paid him for like the first month of training and coaching. So he was actually going to train me into the show. And so we walked out of the gym and he goes up to one of the other guys who's sitting outside the gym. And he was like, hey, like, what do you think I should train Gabe on Monday? And I was just like, oh, well, it's my chest day on Monday. And the guy looks at Doug and he goes, make him train legs. And I was just like, okay, cool. Like, I train legs, no problem. And so I remember we started off with leg extensions and then we did 2 sets there. And then we went over to the hack squat. I did 1 set of hack squats and I started puking because that was the first time I had trained truly, truly hard. And I was like, this is what bodybuilding training is. And so when I had my eyes open to that, I was like, yeah, I'm training to failure. But then I realized what training to true failure was. And so the way that I define it is now I'm doing as many reps as I can with without form breaking down until I can't complete another full rep. That's what to me training to failure is. And then beyond that is like if you're getting forced reps from a training partner, that's training beyond failure, or doing any sort of intensifier, whether it might be drop set, superset, you name it.
Yeah. And I feel like the brain wants to tell you this isn't safe. I'm going to failure, but your body can actually push past that a little bit, like 2 or 3 reps. So that's a huge thing to get over too, I find.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest skill that I've learned with training to true failure is in those last few reps, not panicking. Because that's what I found, especially early on, is you're getting close to the very end of a set and your body, like your muscle is burning. And so you just want it to be over. And so you start rushing through reps, form starts to break down, and you get that sympathetic response right there at the end of the set. And your body is just like, you panic. You're just like, oh, I want this to be over with. But I think that truly being able to sit with the pain of that set is going to make you better at training. And the more exposure you have to that, you're going to get used to it and you'll be able to deal with that much more effectively and stay locked into that set, especially as those last few reps are happening. And, your brain is telling you, drop the weight, get out of the set, but you can stay calm through it and just continue pushing without your form breaking down.
I always try to tell clients if, like, right before you start a set, if it's your top set and your working set is, let's say, 8 to 10, and they're like, I'm going to go for 8. And I'm like, why not go for 10? Like, if you hit 8 and that's your failure, great. But why are you diminishing yourself to just go for the bottom of the rep range? Go for 10.
Now your brain's trained to stop at 8.
Exactly.
That's exactly what Gabe's saying is like, people get so scared. They're like, I can't do 10 reps. I'm just go for 8. But then realistically, you're actually going for 6 because those last 2 reps, you get so scared. So go for 10 and then get your 8.
Yep.
Having a solid training partner is helpful too. Like Eleanor and I train together quite often, and I love it because she'll help me a lot on those top sets where I don't even have to think about, okay, if I fail or I don't get this, like I'm going to be stuck in the hole kind of thing. Like I have someone to help me if I do fail. So that part of my brain can turn off and I can just focus on going literally till failure. Because if I was alone, I might, keep a rep in reserve just in case I get stuck under the bar or something.
One of the biggest game changers in my clinical practice has been becoming certified as an advanced movement therapist. I use this AMT system in my practice to guide clinical decision-making and measure change before and after each session. Without guessing, I can clearly assess what's working, validate the effectiveness of my treatments, and confidently communicate progress to my clients. With the AMT system, you'll gain the knowledge and tools to deliver precise, effective treatments by mastering your approach to functional neurology and movement therapy. So if you're a therapist, trainer, or clinician looking for better outcomes, stronger clinical reasoning, and more confidence in your treatment approach, check out the AMT certification at amtcertified.ca and use code Nikki when you sign up.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I also think a big part of that is exercise selection, though, too, and
Yeah.
picking movements that you can safely fail on. Where it's
If you're
like,
by yourself, for sure.
yeah. So it's like I have specific leg presses that I know if I get buried on it, like I can't get out, right? And then someone does need to come get me out of it. But I also have certain leg presses where it's like I can set the safeties to a point where the safeties are like 1 inch lower or 2 inches lower than what my full range of motion is.
Smart.
And so if I do get buried on it, it's like, cool, I can just kind of scoop my butt out and then I can be out just fine.
That's smart.
Because I know
like-
not everyone gets the luxury of having a training partner every day.
That's
was gonna
it.
say-
Or you're in a gym.
Do you have a training partner?
Not currently. I was training with my buddy Kyrie Cooper, the guy I was telling you about,
Yeah.
for like 2 years, but schedules just don't really align anymore. He's in the military, so he's training, doing his own thing, and then his split changed. He's only training 4 days a week. I train 5 now, so just schedules just don't really align.
Sure.
I
What about
love
you?
training alone, but I love having a training partner sometimes. A very specific though. Like usually I'll only train with either my boyfriend, Eleanor, and there's like 2 other girlfriends like once in a while. But I like that extra push sometimes.
Me and Nikki have a rule though, like
And we don't talk.
because we're both very like, I don't want to say like old school bodybuilding, like just go in, get the work done. But my rest time matters.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're both very much like we have our little 5-minute conversation before we train.
Mhm.
And then as soon as like we hit that first set, we don't talk.
That's an interesting conversation too, because I'm a bit the opposite. So when I was training with Kyrie all the time, I think it kind of depends on the day and like what our mood is, because there were definitely some days where it's like, yeah, we can chat and, joke around in between sets. But when it's time to hit that top set, like we're fully locked in. Right. And that might mean, we joke around, we might laugh a little bit, and then you take 30 seconds to yourself or a minute to get yourself mentally to that place to when you do step into that leg press or that hack squat, you can fully send it and be fully locked in. There were other days where we'd walk into the gym and you could just tell like, we're not going to be talking to each other today. It's like, we wouldn't say a word to each other until like our 3rd or 4th movement. And we had gotten to a point now where it's like, it's so synergistic that we just kind of look at each other and like, I could just like point to something and he would know like, oh yeah, more weight or less weight. And we'd always have this one movement when we knew it was time for our top set, we would go like this, like it's game time. So it's
it's
like,
just
I'd
body
have my
language.
headphones on. So it's like, I have my headphones on. I'm ready for my top set. He'd have his headphones on and I just look at him and just be like, and he just knows, all right, cool, let's do it.
Yeah,
But I
matching
think
that
that
energy is perfect.
building that synergy and being able to feed off of a training partner goes such a long way.
Definitely.
With that being said, do you think that your mindset, or at least from what you've seen with clients, that their mindset shifts between prep and off season, like when they're training? Is it like, oh, like now I can talk, but when I'm in prep, it's like, don't talk to me kind of thing?
I think some people do, because I think some people see prep as different than off season. And I think that if we can close the gap between what training should look like between a prep and an off season phase where it should be this serious and this intense year round. Like, I don't think being in a prep setting should change your intensity. I think that especially if you're deep in the throes of prep, like, hey, I just don't have the energy to talk today, right? That shouldn't change the effort or the execution of your training at all. But that might change the way that you're communicating with people where, you have the hoodie on, you have the headphones on, versus being in an off season when you're kind of fat and happy. You're just like, oh yeah, like we can joke around. But when it's time to hit the set, it's time to hit the set. And so I think that if people can look at off-season training as just as important as prep training, then I don't think that there needs to be a mental shift.
That is so true. A lot of people ask me too, like, how does your training change in the off season versus prep? I'm like, it doesn't. My coach will change exercises as needed, but the intensity stays the exact same. The only thing that changes is the cardio duration, and that's it.
And honestly, just like exercise selection might shift a little bit just because, being a higher body fat, you might have better leverage for certain movements. I know that there's like specific leg presses that I fit into better when I'm heavier, and there's certain leg presses or hack squats that I don't fit into as well when I'm a lot leaner. Or like
Yeah.
something might just feel a bit different, or like I might not feel as stable on like a free barbell back squat versus in the off season. It's like, yeah, I feel everything's safe, everything feels stable. When I'm 3 weeks out, am I going to load up a free barbell on my back? Probably not. I might switch it to a hack squat.
That's true. And also, like when you're decreasing the body fat, more lines come out and you can kind of see different areas that you might need to put more volume into. So things might change. Like, okay, we got to kind of tone down the quad training. Let's put more emphasis on the glutes and hamstrings or whatever it might be that you need, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just not train glutes anymore. It's fine.
Well,
That's a good problem to have.
yeah, especially for bikini, right?
Yeah.
But I think that
Is it, Gabe?
well, I think so, because that again, we start talking about like, okay, if you have the privilege to no longer have to train this body part, like that's a good thing. That means it's already developed enough. You might see it as like, oh, all these other girls still get to train glutes. But then in your shoes, you're looking at it as like, oh, well, I've earned the right to not have to train glutes because they're already so developed.
My God, I feel like I'm getting free session here.
You're getting free mental reframing training right now, right?
It's so funny.
Do you find a lot of athletes struggle with consistency even when they love training? And do you feel like this could be related to burnout?
That's a good question. I think we're all human, right?
Yeah.
And I think that at the end of the day, we're all going to have days that we don't want to go do the thing that we are saying that we want to do. And so when burnout becomes a factor, that's where I start to want to look at what are your goals that you've set out for yourself? How does your identity play into all of these things? Because I don't think burnout happens from doing the thing that you truly love to do over and over and over again. I think burnout happens when the thing that you have to do is not in alignment with what you want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of people, if their goal is, I want to be a good bodybuilder, right? You shouldn't really have long periods of burnout when you're engaging in bodybuilding, all things bodybuilding. But I find that when your goals are external, where it's like, hey, I just want to be lean, right? But then you have to go through a bulking phase to really put on the muscle. Well, it's like what you want is not in alignment with what you have to do, which is put on the body fat when all you want is to be lean. And so I think burnout happens when there's a misalignment between what you truly want and what you have to do more often than not. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, because I'm just trying to think, like a lot of people will say, I want to be a pro. That's kind of where my mindset goes. But I guess it's a little different in the States where like you guys have shows, multiple shows every weekend. In Canada, it's not like that. In Canada, you have 4 shows all year in all of Canada. I'm pretty sure for nationals, I mean.
Right.
So when I hear I want to turn pro and then I see the pros that are being turned in the States,
Yeah.
it's like, are you actually acting pro? And then I look at Canada and I'm like, the people that are actually turning pro here, they live, they breathe, and they've done it for years consistently. Whereas nowadays in the States, and I'm not like saying anyone who turned pro in States shouldn't have, but I'm saying it's so much easier over there.
Right. And so when I hear that, what that tells me is that for people who say that they want to turn pro and they're experiencing that burnout, I would question, do you actually want to build a pro physique, or do you just want the status of being a pro? Because those are 2 very different things, right? And so that's where we start talking about living in alignment with what you actually want. Because if you just want the benefits to call yourself a pro, you're probably going to be less likely to engage in all of the actions and the behaviors of what becoming a pro entails. But if your thought process is, I want to build a pro physique, then that's where you start looking at the actions and the behaviors of what building that pro physique entails. And so it's a lot harder to burn out when you truly love the process and you're really just focused on doing things that pros do, executing at a pro level, versus just saying, I want to be a pro. I want to be able to put at whatever name IFBB pro on my Instagram, right? Because those are 2 very different things. And if you just want the status and the value of feeling like you are something because you're a pro now, I think that burnout becomes a lot easier to occur.
I think you said something, and I think also like when you call yourself or you say, I want to be a pro, I want to build a pro physique. I'll give you an example for myself right now is I've never rested before. Like in an off season, I've never taken time off where I don't do cardio. I actually like eat my meal plan to the calories that it states. And when I didn't get my pro card, and I don't think I did as well as I wanted to or hoped to back in October, I remember saying I did not deserve that. And it wasn't because my prep was good. It was because in my off season, I was not building a pro physique. I was still overtraining, burning myself out psychologically, like, no. So now I can say next time I step on stage for an off season, at least, I'm really proud. Like I genuinely, I think Nikki can attest to this too, because she's seen me in both off. I'm building a pro physique now. So there was a point for me to say that. Sorry.
No, that's
Well,
so true what you both said there. And like, I feel like you can really tell the ones who understand what goes into building a pro physique versus the ones that are just chasing the pro card, because now there's like a timestamp in their brain where they're rushing things. And you can really tell those who are just chasing that pro card versus not is the post show crash out of how they act and present themselves afterward. Like Eleanor said, you did it, like you did everything that you can. You followed everything to a T through the off season. So say you didn't get that placing you wanted to, you can say to yourself, well, I've done everything that I can, and I know I've done everything. It just wasn't my time. Back to the drawing board to build that pro physique. And people that are doing it to build the pro physique and want to do it long term know the work that goes into it and the time that it takes and how specific it is. And will say, it'll be my time when it's my time when I'm ready. And then that's it.
Well, not only that, but when the goal becomes building a pro physique, that is something that is directly within your control. Turning pro at a national show, that's up to the judges. And so if your entire goal revolves around something that is external that you don't actually have any control on, then that makes it a lot harder to deal with it when you don't get that pro card. Right. And so what you need to do is focus on staying in that process of just building the pro physique. What are the things that a pro does? And for you, that might look different, where that means taking time away, right? Being able to recover more effectively. Being a pro doesn't just mean that you just work hard all the time, right? Being a pro means, how are you self-modulating your training? How are you self-modulating your recovery, your diet, etc.? And so that's what executing like a pro is, because you can have your absolute best package. You can have what would have won like the last pro show, but you show up and there's two girls that are on stage with you that just have way better genetics than you do. And you don't win a pro card, but you have a pro level physique that would have won, you know, the other national show.
Yeah. And that's so important to understand, because a lot of people may disagree and just say, well, that all that doesn't matter. What matters is when you step on stage, who looks the best, that's who wins. But I believe there's so much more that goes into that than just stepping up there. Yeah, sure, that's how they judge, and that's what happens. The judges don't know what the heck you did in your off season. Could be true to an extent, but there's so much more that goes into it, and that helps the mental side of things and how you act moving forward, how you're, you step off stage and how your demeanor is. That all that is so related.
Yeah,
Right,
you
because
don't show up. You don't know what the lineup is going to look like, because at the end of the day, you could have the best physique in the entire world, but everybody shows up and you stand out and you still look the best out of everyone. But if you stand out, you're the outlier. They're not going to choose you.
Yeah.
It sucks, but that's just how it is. It's part of the game. And I think a lot of people need to understand that. I had to understand.
And that's where choosing to externalize your goals, such as, my main goal is to win a pro card, can get a little bit dicey, because obviously we want to win our pro cards, but at the end of the day, we don't have control over that. And so then the goal needs to be something that you can have full control over, versus like where it's something like, I want to improve in this area, right? So it's like, I want to bring up my legs. I want to bring up my glutes. I want to bring up my back, whatever it might be, right? Because those are things that you do have direct control over. And when you look from show to show, if you're still improving, you're on the right path. But if the only goal is, I want to win a pro card, and you don't win a pro card, but you put on 10 pounds of lean tissue as a male bodybuilder from last year's show to this year's show, like, you're on the right path. You're doing all the things correctly, but you didn't achieve the goal that you don't have any control over And then that's where you start to second guess yourself and say, oh, well, maybe I didn't do the right things in the off season. Maybe I need a different coach. Maybe I need to go to this training style instead, because obviously I didn't win a pro card with this training style. But you're not able to objectively look at all the progress you made by doing the things that you did, because you're looking at it through the lens of an external goal that you have no control over.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's so true. And that's why a lot of people coach hop too. But you already made all that
Absolutely.
progress. You just have to keep going and keep doing it. And look at look, there's so much more that goes into it than just, I want to win the pro card. Obviously, we're all in this to win and we have that goal, but we understand what goes into it. And the goal going into that, if it's just to be better than your last showing, like that's a huge step in itself. That's a huge goal.
Absolutely. And it's a goal that we can all attain, but the focus needs to stay on the process itself and really making sure that you're executing like a pro if you want to become a pro. That should be the main goal. Execute like a pro first. If the pro card happens, it happens. If it doesn't, well, I'm still executing like a pro.
Yeah.
And that I have direct control over.
Whether you
And
get
because
your
of that, yeah.
huh?
I said, and because of that, that'll help you mentally move forward and be okay with your placing, because now you're not, low key getting defensive with yourself or putting yourself down for not doing what but deep down you were supposed to be doing, or the way you're supposed to be acting.
Yeah, 100%. And I was going to say, like, we've said this before on the podcast, but whether you win or lose, you're still going to wake up the next day and have your eggs and egg whites and oatmeal and cream of rice, and you're still going to do what you do because you're a bodybuilder at heart.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, we're going to do a quick little rapid fire
Let's do it.
speed round.
Let's do it.
Okay. Nikki, how do you want to do this? I'll go this.
Okay. Yeah.
And you do the rest? Okay,
Yep.
RPE or just send it?
Send it.
Okay, top sets or pump up work?
Top sets.
Heavy or slow?
Heavy.
Okay. Okay, for top sets, music or silence?
Music for me personally.
Okay. Do you think leg day is more mental or physical? Train alone or with a partner?
With a partner.
For all like lifts?
I think so, but I've also been very lucky throughout my time bodybuilding that I've had a series of really, really good training partners where I like them as individuals. They train hard. We have great synergy. And so I think that a good training partner is a force multiplier.
Yeah. Okay.
Amen. Prep brain or off-season brain?
Which one's worse or which one do I like better?
Oh, that's a good question too. Which one do you like better?
Off-season brain.
Shreds or off-season strength?
Off-season strength.
Oh, no. Wrong answer. I'm sorry.
Well, see, I'm very biased because when I fell in love with weightlifting was through football. And so I was always just like, I want to get as strong as possible. Like my goal is to deadlift 600 for 10 before I hang up the bodybuilding trunks. So I don't have any like specific bodybuilding goals in terms of like placements and like, yeah, like I want to get a pro card eventually, but if I hit 600 for 10 on deadlifts, like I will be the happiest guy ever.
Wait, you don't want to get a pro card. You want to build a pro physique. What did we just talk about?
Exactly. Which is why the pro card is not necessarily the goal. So there isn't like, it's like, yeah, I want to build a pro physique, but I also recognize that if I can deadlift 600 for 10, like I'm going to have a pro physique from the back. Like, I don't know anyone who can deadlift 600 for 10 who doesn't just have a gnarly back.
That's true.
So that's how I look at it.
Imagine having your off-season strength when you're shredded. Goals.
Be amazing. Be amazing.
Push through or pull back?
I want to say push through, but I'm going to say pull back.
That's smart. That was a good one. Most overrated training cue?
Most overrated training cue. Trying to think.
I feel like there could be a few of these.
Yeah. I think like retracting your shoulder blades on a pressing movement and keeping them retracted the whole time.
Yeah.
That one.
Don't put your knees over your toes. Okay. And most underrated mental skill for this final takeaway.
Most underrated mental skill. I want to say self-awareness because it's the foundation, but I think I'm going to go with self-talk because I think self-talk and having productive self-talk is really key to being able to generate action. I'm going to go self-talk.
I love that one. That's good.
Well, thank you for coming on. That was actually such a fun episode. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you guys for having me on.
We covered a lot, got into some rants. We love it.
Yes, we did.
Do you want to tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. I run my entire business off of my Instagram account and also via text, etc. So easiest way to find me is on Instagram at Rocha, ROCHA _ sports psych. If anybody wants to book with me, hire me, etc., just shoot me a DM and I will get back to you. And then we can talk about scheduling, rates, what I do, etc., etc. So that's definitely the easiest way to follow me or find me.
Yeah, I'll put your link down below for your Instagram.
Awesome. Yeah.
Awesome. Again, thanks for coming on. So much fun.
Thank
Have a
you
good
guys
rest
for
of your
having
day
me.
and enjoy the sun because there's lots of snow here. So please enjoy the sun for us.
Yep. I definitely will. I think it's about like 70 degrees outside and not a cloud in the sky. So I think I'm going to go.
Let's go.
I think I'm going to go grab my coffee, go sit out on the back patio and just soak up some sun for a little bit.
Now you're
All
just
right, our
trying
bags
to
are packed. We're on the way.
I'll try to send the good weather up your guys' way.
Thank you. We need it.
you.
No problem.
See ya.